A former Facebook employee who filed anonymous federal complaints against the social media giant is revealing her identity on 60 Minutes. The whistleblower says she has provided tens of thousands of pages of internal company research to the Securities and Exchange Commission. She claims Facebook is lying about the effectiveness of its campaigns to eradicate hate, violence, and misinformation from its platforms. For more, CBSN technology reporter Dan Patterson joins us now. Dan, great to see you. The whistleblower is expected to reveal some new accusations against Facebook. How could these details hurt the company?
Yeah, hi. So since mid-September, with reporting from the Wall Street Journal that alleged Facebook knew it could be harmful to teenagers, knew that mis and disinformation were running rampant on the platform, as well as a number of other allegations. Facebook has been pushing back in a number of different ways, but these new allegations are likely to kind of hammer home the Wall Street Journal and others reporting, because it kind of mirrors the same refrain, and that is that Facebook knew about mis and disinformation on the platform, and that surges in engagement and activity also generated surges in revenue. So the whistleblower is likely to allege that Facebook was well aware of this problem and chose to ignore it.
Now, that former employee says profit outweighs safety at the company. What more can you tell us about that?
So in one specific claim, the whistleblower says that Facebook developed a suite of tools prior to the 2020 election that was designed to curb the spread of rumors, misinformation, and disinformation. And we know that talking with the company, these tools did exist and were in wide use. But the whistleblower is likely to allege that after the election, immediately following the election, Facebook rolled back the use of these tools, which allowed mis and disinformation to run rampant. And the company was aware of this. They saw the spikes in disinformation, chose not to do anything about it, especially after seeing the revenue generation, that the money that surges of engagement brought in was just too tempting for the firm to ignore.
Now, the whistleblower also claims changes to Facebook's news feed back in 2018 caused even more polarization among users. Dan, how does that work?
Yeah, so in early 2018, viewers may recall that Facebook rolled out a tool called Meaningful Social Interactions, and this tool was designed to decrease the amount of politics and hard news that users might see in their feeds, and instead see stuff from family and friends that might be a little more appealing than just news. This was designed to once again kind of curb the spread of mis and disinformation. It had the opposite effect. Instead, it allowed rumors to spread pretty quickly instead of spreading from one large vector. These rumors spread like they kind of do in real life games of telephone, from friend to friend and family to family.
A lot of claims being made. How does the company plan to defend itself?
Well, Facebook has pushed back in a number of ways, once again saying that the Wall Street Journal and others have kind of cherry-picked. Often they go after the personal reputations of journalists and whistleblowers. If you recall, Chris Wiley, who was the whistleblower in the Cambridge Analytica scandal, they actually deleted or deactivated his account instead of working with him on the Cambridge Analytica claims. Nick Clegg has dismissed much of the criticism that algorithmic ranking was to blame for the spike of mis and disinformation. And he pointed out that platforms that use no algorithms, messaging platforms, are one culprit for spreading misinformation quickly, although Facebook owns one of the largest messaging platforms, WhatsApp, where mis and disinformation has run rampant. Clegg said, the simple fact remains that the changes to algorithmic ranking systems on one social media platform cannot explain wider societal polarization, essentially saying, hey, look, you can't really prove that social media at large, let alone Facebook, is blame for polarization that exists in politics and culture.
Well, I know you'll keep watching what's going on here. Dan Patterson, thank you.
Great to see you.
Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen on regulating misinformation and hateful content.
This past March, Mark Zuckerberg told Congress, quote, "Others claim that algorithms feed us content that makes us angry because it's good for business. But that's not accurate.
I believe that the division we see today is primarily the result of a political and media environment that drives Americans apart."
It's not Facebook, it's human nature, is what he's saying.
I have a lot of empathy for Mark. Right, like Mark has been working on Facebook since he was like 19 years old, maybe 18 years old. Like imagine spending your entire life building a thing which people are saying is dangerous. I think, so Mark's statements are very important in that he's highlighting that we have always had conflict. But the thing that Facebook is doing is it used to be the ways that we would connect with each other, the ways we would learn about information about the world, was there was always a gatekeeper somewhere in between. Mark has never set out to make a hateful platform, but he has allowed choices to be made where the side effects of those choices are that hateful, polarizing content gets more distribution, more reach.
The company will tell you that it's taken down a lot of content. 31 million pieces of hate speech, 3,000 accounts that were spreading COVID misinformation. They put warnings on more than 190 million pieces of COVID information.
I think that's a fascinating trade-off thing. So they say they've taken down 30 million pieces of content. They say they've put warnings on 190 pieces of content. Earlier in this interview, we talked about the idea that they were only detecting 3 to 5% of hate speech, right? Let's imagine if they are already putting warnings on 190 million pieces of COVID content, if they're only catching 10%, or let's be generous, 20% of pieces of COVID content, that means there's 1 billion pieces of COVID content they missed. Think about that. That's crazy. 2 billion pieces of content they missed. And that's the part of the conversation that Mark is not talking about, or Facebook is not talking about, is right now we have no independent transparency mechanisms that allow us to see what Facebook is doing internally. And we have seen from things like the Community Enforcement Report that when Facebook is allowed to create its own homework, it picks metrics that are in its own benefit. And the consequences, they can say we get 94% of hate speech, and then their internal documents say we get 3 to 5% of hate speech. We can't govern that.